Hey all, Audio Nation checking in here for my very first review, which I'm very excited to give. Um, Recently, I started going through my iPod in alphabetical order and listening to some bands whose work I had downloaded, but it kind of stayed on my iPod like an old trophy collecting dust. I was aware of that band because they were on my iPod, but I never really listened to them until now. And so one of the band that I'm gonna talk about tonight is one of these bands, and man, I felt like such an idiot when I started listening to them because they have really become an absolute favorite of mine in the last few days, and the band I'm talking about is called ISIS, and the record I'm going to talk about tonight is called Wavering Radiant, which unfortunately is their fourth and final studio album. Now, this band was very short lived, sadly, but their influence and impact on metal can't be denied. They were pioneers of post metal who followed in the footsteps of such greats as Neurosis, but they but ISIS has had a very profound impact on some of my favorite bands. Um, to quote the frontman Aaron Turner, and this quote is a quote he used to describe Wavering Radiant. The symbolism that comes up in dreams and the archetypal things that you discover in the process of self-dream analysis are things that have been recurrent throughout history in tons of different people from all walks of life and from all corners of the globe. So, in that way, this record is not only an exploration of self, but an exploration of humanity. Profound words, but a very apt description of the listening experience. Despite the name, however, Wavering Radiant, this album has a radiance which is absolutely unwavering. Like its predecessors, a thematic strand runs throughout, but it is a little more obscure in comparison with them because they contain more clearly defined concepts than this one. This record deals with dreams and the ideas of Carl Jung and Jungian psychology, and is an intricately imagined concept that takes the listener into a surreal dream world where the fabric of reality is laid asunder. In fact, I would associate the sonic experience with breathing underwater. A dreamlike state when you're dreaming but you don't know you're dreaming, and all of a sudden you're flying in your dream and you can barely believe it. An unknown world where there's fish in the sky and birds in the sea, where the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, and the mountains blow in the winds like leaves. An unknown world where you wouldn't think you would survive, but you are, or are you? On this record, there is a compelling dialogue between melancholy and dissonance, which unfolds through guitars, dreamlike keyboards, and ambient soundscapes which evoke a feeling of luminescence. Aaron Turner's vocal work and Cliff Myers' keys descend through dissonant guitars like rays of sunlight, stabbing downward through ocean waves into the depths below, where they then frolic like a pair of playful dolphins or mermaids. Such melodicism not only adds a new dimension to ISIS's music, but establishes another way of raising tension by silhouetting those melodies against their slabs of dissonance. The melodies are very fluid and feel at times like a symphony of sirens or conversations between whales. Let me just say that speaking of whales, this is an absolute whale of a record. Um, I really just there's almost no words for me to think of on the spot that I haven't already read out. Um, like Aaron Turner's growl vocals are really brutal, and his singing is really melodic. Um, the keys are just have such an ethereal and beautiful sound, and guitars are really heavy. Like, it's really heavy, it's melodic, it's atmospheric, and I can hear at least 8 of my favorite bands on this record because they've been influenced by ISIS. Like, there's Baroness, there's Mastodon, there's Ahab, there's Under Oath, there's Norma Jean, there's High on Fire, and of course you can hear ISIS's influence by Neurosis, who Neurosis was one of those bands who transcended styles. They began as a hardcore punk band, but they slowly evolved into the clear-cut founders of sludge metal. And there's a very like the heavy guitars on this record are very sludgy, and it's just amazing just to see the different elements coming together on this record and how ISIS has just made them all work. Like this record, along with some of their other albums that I'm going to review, like Panopticon, really displays the talent of a band that is a master of its craft. And so I give it 5 out of 5, hands down. Anyway, that's all for tonight, and I look forward to just doing another one later on. Thanks. Cheers.